Welcome to Story Zest. Here you'll find fresh original tales written and narrated by me every Monday and Thursday. Sit back, relax, and enjoy these fictional journeys crafted just for you. It was a chilly evening as I sat down to dinner with my parents. Dad was fixated on the news channel where a woman was being arrested for allegedly murdering her love for financial gain. At least, that's what the report claimed. Two officers flanked her hands cuffed behind her back. Who would have thought she would be a murderer? Dad muttered under his breath. I stole a glance at the news. The woman looked about my mom's age. Her demeanor initially struck me as kind, beautiful, and suddenly innocent. Upon closer inspection, her eyes were wide open yet vacant and unfocused. Her shoulders were hunched and her head hung low. Her body swayed slightly as if her physical form had become disconnected from her spirit. She appeared more like a victim than a perpetrator. She seemed broken, not guilty. But then again, criminals could come in all forms, I thought. Dad, is she really guilty? I asked curiously, as I knew he was leading the case. Why wasn't there a trial? Dad sighed, straightening from the hunched position he had unconsciously adopted while watching the news. She confessed to the crime, Bobo, he explained, a crease of unease forming between his brows. And all the evidence points towards her involvement, he said. I nodded silently, the weight of the situation settling in. All right, now turn it off. How many times do I have to remind you to keep your professional interests outside of the house? Mom scolded. Family time should solely be family time, all right? Sorry, Dad apologized, turning off the TV. The atmosphere shifted instantly from intense to light. Mom had prepared my favorite chicken noodle soup, steaming and perfect for the weather. It had been a long time since we had dinner together. Dad had been working continuous night shifts, and Mom had just returned from a business trip. Being together again was something I had craved. This is delicious, Mom, I exclaimed. Mom beamed with a smile. I'm glad you liked it, sweetie. Honey, do you mind preparing some healthy meal for Max and his son? Dad said with concern. They seem to be eating a lot of junk lately, and I'm worried they might get sick. No worries, John, Mom replied. I'll definitely pack some healthy meals for them. Bobo can drop them off. Yes, Mom, I'll bring it to them, I replied. The next day, I took the food to Uncle Max's place. Unlocking the front door with the key Sid had given me, I entered the house. Habit formed from Aunt Nilu's rule, I removed my shoes first, placing them in the large rack before taking out slippers. Her touch was evident everywhere, a dedicated puja room for religious practices and vibrant color that created a lively atmosphere. Uncle James always admired her ability to make the house a home. But since Aunt Nilu's passing, a shadow fell over Uncle James. A wonderful woman, her absence still weighed heavy on him. It felt like a part of him had gone with her. Seeing him so lifeless, my heart ached. I entered the living room to find Uncle James lying on his back, one arm on his forehead and the other flipping through channels with the remote. Good morning, Uncle James. Mom sent your food. I'm leaving it here on the kitchen counter. Please help yourself. Oh, that's very kind of Mary. Please thank her for me, he said, his attempt at cheerfulness falling flat. Heading upstairs to Sid's room, I walked right to find him emerging from the bathroom, unclothed. Startled, he yelled, Hey, why don't you knock? Whoa, dude, maybe throw some clothes on before subjecting me to that view, I replied, frowning and rolling my eyes. Right, he said, placing a hand on his hip. You're in my room, you know. Maybe adjust your entrance strategy, okay? He smirked. Why are you acting like I'm some attractive girl? Are you trying to flirt? I retorted, disgust. His smirk evaporated, replaced by a look of mock nausea. Gross, he muttered. Suddenly he lunged and jumped into my bag. What the heck? I shouted. Get off! I struggled, throwing punches and kicks until I managed to pin him down and apply a camel clutch. He tapped the floor in surrender. Victory was mine. Just as I lined up another elbow shot, the doorbell rang. I ran to see who it was and opened the door. It was Dad. Dad, you didn't go to work today? Nope, took a leave for a day, he replied. Ah, okay. Hey, Fatso, get up, Dad boomed. Let's go, get this boy some essentials for school. High school after all. Whoa, that's great, Dad, I jumped in excitement. Sid came running downstairs, clothes already on, having clearly heard everything. No, You guys go. I just want to lay down and watch the match, said Uncle James. Dad shook his head. You can't be serious, he said. Then he turned to us. We knew what we had to do. Sid and I held Uncle James's foot each while Dad locked both his arms on Uncle James's chest from behind. We then carried him with great struggle to the car. Stop it! Why can't you people just leave me alone? Uncle James complained in annoyance. Dad chuckled. Come on, it will be fun. He then drove us to the convenience store and bought us everything. Back at Sid's place, we settled in for evening of video games. Sid and I battled it out on the console, and Dad and Uncle James enjoyed their favorite shows. Comfortable camaraderie settling between them. Later, the four of us gathered in the backyard for a feast of grilled chicken and earthy mushrooms, the smoky aroma mining with the scent of blooming night jasmine. The cool breeze whispered through the air, and the moon cast a silvery glow on the scene, making it perfect summer evening. As we relaxed, enjoying the moonlight scene and the soft music playing in the background, a soft sob cut through the air. It was Uncle James. The cheerful facade he had maintained all day crumbled, revealing a deep veil of sorrow. Tears welled up his eyes as he muttered, I shouldn't have been on the phone. It seemed the alcohol had loosened his grip, allowing the grief he had been hiding the surface. The whole reason Dad had come along was to distract him from his pain, but the opposite had happened. The source of his grief became clear. Uncle James was drowning in a sea of regrets. He mourned Aunt Nilu's accident, guilt gnawing at him for being on the phone when it happened. He wished he had reminded her to drive safely or ended the call sooner. The unfinished conversation with his late wife haunted him. The important thing she tried to tell him forever a mystery. We all knew words were powerless against his overwhelming pain. Watching him struggle was agonizing. In contrast, whenever I glanced at Sid, he seemed remarkably composed. Perhaps it was because he was younger during the accident, or maybe he suppressed his own grief for his father's sake. Regardless, he handled Uncle James's with a maturity beyond his years. Come on now, James. You need some rest. You can't wear yourself down like this. You've got to work tomorrow, remember? Dad said gently, trying to distract him. Come on, boys, let's take him to the bed. Chapter 2. A mix of excitement and nervousness filled us as we embarked our journey to high school. When we entered the school, the energy was electric. Laughter and chatter filled the air. Some groups like us were finding their bearings, while others, likely seniors, were busy bullying younger students. It was chaotic, but Sid and I found ourselves in the same class and even made new friends. So, it was a great start. Days passed by in a blur and life was going great. Until one day, while heading towards the library, I witnessed a horrific scene. A group of boys were dragging and beating another boy near the corridor. Without thinking, I went straight to one of the boys, who seemed like the leader. I pulled him away, demanding to stop. He turned around and punched me in the face. My vision blurred for a second. Just then, Sid came running. Hey, Bobby, are you alright? He helped me stand up. Seeing one of the teachers passing by, the boys ran away. The boy who was bitten, his name was Jane. That incident brought us a new friend. And the three of us became inseparable after that. It turned out that Jane was very popular among girls. Unfortunately, this was why Moto, the leader of the group, beat him. Moto liked a girl who was more interested in Jane, though Jane showed no interest in her. It was super fun to have Jane and Sid around. Jane blended so well with us that it felt like we have known each other forever. He never called us by our names though. While he called me Boobies instead of Bobby, he called Sid Noddy. Only we couldn't find a suitable nickname for him. He was kind of perfect in that way. One day while we were having lunch in the cafeteria, a group of boys sat next to our table. I turned around and realized they were the same bully guys. The leader Moto was giving us a deadly stare. While I felt a bit uncomfortable, Jen and Sid seemed least bothered, so I tried to collect myself too. As I walked home later, a prickling sensation crawled up my spine. I glanced back, but the street was empty. Shaking off the paranoia, I continued walking. Suddenly, a hard blow struck me from behind. Startled, I spun around to find the bully gang again. They doubled over, snorting with laughter, clutching their stomach. Moto stepped forward. Hey there, he said with a mocking grin. What's a tough guy like you doing all alone, huh? Didn't your butterflies come along? He reached out and pinched my cheeks. I shoved his hands away with disgust. Just get lost, I spat, gathering all my courage. Their laughter intensified. How about we walk you home then? Moto said, wrapping his arm around my neck in a supposed friendly way. I reacted instinctively, shoving him hard. He stumbled back, surprised by my resistance. A dark scowl formed on his face. So you're rejecting my friendship, huh? He said, his voice laced with plain hurt. I'm not interested, I declared firmly. Get out of my way. I wouldn't be caught dead in pathetic gang like yours. With that, I marched off, leaving them speechless. Although I couldn't shake the feeling of unease that they might attack from behind, I quickened my pace and thankfully reached home safely. Confused, I replayed the whole scene in my head. Was Moto really interested in being friends? Nah. Why bully me if that was his intention? The whole situation left a bad taste in my mouth, and I pushed the thoughts aside, resolving to deal with them later. The next day at school, I filled Sid and Jane in on every detail of the incident. Whoa, is that all? Didn't Moto even hit you? Jane's reaction shocked me. Are you serious? I exclaimed. No, dummy. I think Moto has fallen for you, Jane teased, nudging me. Maybe he's gay? Because there's no way he spares anyone. Unless he's interested in that person, he joked. Oh, shut up! I swatted playfully at his head. Sid joined in. Jen might be right. I do think Moro likes you. Just look at how he stares at you every time. Jen chuckled. Look! Even now he's staring at you. I glanced towards where Sid was pointing. And he was right. The guy was looking at our group, not me specifically. My breath caught in my throat. How are these two so calm about this whole situation? I thought. Chapter 3. While taking a shower, I lathered my hair with shampoo. As I rinsed, a clump of hair came loose in my hand. Panic surged through me. I gingerly touched another strand, and to my shock, it came out too. A choked scream escaped my lips. I raced downstairs, dripping wet, to show my mom. Her eyes widened in concern. She rushed me to the hospital immediately. Thankfully, the doctors couldn't find any underlying conditions. They suspected a reaction to a hair product, and the only thing I was using was shampoo. So, following their advice, I tossed the bottle and resigned myself to wearing a cap to school until my hair grew back. At school, Jane spotted me and howled with laughter. Always rocking a new hairstyle. Sid, however, looked genuinely worried. Dude, are you okay? Is this like super serious? No, no, nothing that dramatic. I sighed annoyed. Just a bad reaction to shampoo. Not gonna die. Alright, Sid, Jane snickered. Love that naughty comments. He couldn't resist one last jab. Just curious though. Mind if I take a pic under the cap? Kind of forgot to check the mirror this morning. Before I could protest, he snatched my hat and held my head at an awkward angle. Sid doubled over, tears streaming down his face. Jen joined in, the laughter echoing throughout the hall. Frustration bubbled up inside me. Seriously, guys? Cut it out! I mumbled, shoving past them towards class. Sunday morning, heading to Sid's place, I saw a figure scrambling down his window. I squinted my eyes to see if it was Sid. Sid, is that you? I asked. But it was someone else. By the time I could process what was happening, the guy jumped and ran. Hey, stop there! I yelled. I followed the guy to the street. Two more guys were waiting for him on a motorbike. They drove off before I could reach them. But a nagging feeling wouldn't leave me. I felt like one of them was Moto. Hey, what's wrong? Sid came running, catching up to me. That guy, he came down from your window. Where were you? What? Sid exclaimed. I was downstairs helping Dad make breakfast. Gosh, just go check your room and see if anything's missing, I urged. We both went upstairs, but everything seemed to be in order. There were no sign of a break in. An unsettling feeling gnawed at me. Sid, I can't shake the feeling that one of those guys was Moto, I confessed. Sid brushed it off, suggesting I was overthinking things. Just relax. Let's tell Dad about it. The next day in school, Sid was nowhere to be seen. It was weird, he never missed his class. Jen and I were wandering the school compound when we saw Moto and his gang. They were staring at Jen. One of the members clearly whispered, Oh, it seems like he didn't bathe. The other members laughed. Jane frowned. Jane, what do they mean that you didn't bathe? I asked, teasing him. God knows how they knew. Do I smell weird? He asked, looking serious. What? You actually skipped shower? I asked, trying to lighten the mood. Yeah, I don't like torturing my body every day, he said, rolling his eyes. That was an interesting fun fact about Jane. Seems like now I finally have a nickname for you, skunk, I teased. Shut up, he whined. After school, we went to see Sid. Turns out he was not home. Where did it go? Jen mumbled. We tried ringing him, but he didn't pick up. Where must he have gone? Since a weird incident happened yesterday, we were a bit worried, so we decided to go to the police station to check. I met Dad there. Dad, did Uncle James come today? Nope, he's in the hospital, he replied. What? What happened? I don't know yet. Nothing serious, I guess. Oh, that's a relief. Well then, see you later, Dad. See you, son. Saying that, we left. The next morning, Jen and I waited eagerly for Sid, and thanks to God, he appeared. Hey, Nori, are you alright? Booby has been traumatized with him missing, he said jokingly. No, guys, nothing serious. Dad lost his hair yesterday. We were worried, so we went to check up. But it turned out he too had a reaction with some products he used, just like you. Sid said coolly. Wait, what? Something was not right. My mind went into detective mode. Then something struck. Sid, by any chance, did Uncle James use your shampoo? Yes. Why? Bingo. I knew it. Sid looked at me annoyed. Will you stop beating around the bush and come to the point? Guys, listen. Uncle James was not supposed to go bald. It was you who was supposed to go bald. What? What do you mean? Sid asked. Do you remember the guy coming down from your window? And I told you that I felt like it was Moto. Well, now I can tell it was actually them. They must have gotten into your room and tampered with your shampoo. The same thing they did with me. Remember, I told you how they had followed me to my house? So I was their first victim. And if I'm not wrong, they have put the stuff in Jane's shampoo too. But since he didn't bathe, nothing happened to his hair. Ah, damn you, booby. You genius, said Jane. That's what they were talking and laughing about yesterday. Whoa, we must confront those bullies.